Welcome back to the Churchfront Show. In this episode, we've got some exciting things to cover in the latest news in worship and production for the church. We are going to talk about this really awesome new encoder by Boxcast. We're going to cover some great audio tools, including Gig Performer and how that can be a great way to run some plugins for your mix external to your mixing console. Waves has some new plugins that they released to help solve some feedback issues that you might be experiencing. A really cool laptop that you can integrate with a Waves LV1 mixing setup. And then we're also going to highlight some solutions that we had for some of our clients at churchfront.com, people who reached out to us with questions in the Churchfront Premium Support portal. Hopefully our solutions we gave them will give you guys inspiration for your own ministry. All of this coming up. Big news from Boxcast. They have a new encoder available called the Spark. So I'm really excited about this because a couple of years ago when I tried out Boxcast encoders for the first time, I was very impressed. You had the Boxcaster and then you had the Boxcast Pro. Both are great encoders, but I always wish there was something in the middle, something that had the HEVC codec encoding of the Boxcast Pro, but in the smaller form factor of the Boxcaster, because the Boxcast Pro had a lot of I/O on it that was simply kind of overkill for especially a church setting. I see how it could have come in handy for maybe some more portable live stream broadcast setups for sporting events and such, but for churches, especially churches that aren't church plants, it's just easy to have this thing sitting on your rack shelf and connected to your video switcher and you're ready to go. So the guys at Boxcast, Gary and Gordon and the rest of the team, they heard that feedback, and I'm sure I wasn't the only one who gave them that feedback, and they developed the Spark. So this is really cool. So a couple things. Budget wise, it's a great option because it comes in at like $9.99, so $1,000 for the unit. And then of course, like you'll have your monthly Boxcast plan, usually about $100 a month for the streaming plan. And I love how it's got the HEVC encoding, which if you guys don't know what that is, it's the high efficiency video codec, I believe is what it stands for. And it makes it so the videos look really good online, whether you're streaming to YouTube, whether you're streaming to Boxcast TV, like your own embed window, it's going to look great. So I'm really pumped about that. It's got the touchscreen on it. There's HDMI input right now. Eventually, they're going to have a SDI version. This is coming soon there on the webpage. So I'm pumped. What are your guys' thoughts on it?
Yeah, I'm excited about this. I think with our specific setups that we've been recommending a lot lately, it's been using like the ATEM Constellation 1ME or 2ME. So those are all SDI outputs. So once they come out with the one with the SDI input, this really cuts down on how many wires you need, how many converters you need, especially because you can see this a little bit in their photo preview, micro SD local recording.
Yep.
So the fact that we can feed it just one SDI cable straight from the Constellation and then record to this device as well, and then just give it internet so they can be streamed. Like, this is the most streamlined solution, and it's in the smallest form factor, but it's got the touchscreen still. I'm excited about it.
And it's got like at least on their website on the page for it, it's got like a couple mounts and docks and stuff that will pair with it. It's like a VESA mount, it looks like, and a clip-on stand, and so that can be kind of cool to just it's coming out with some support to integrate it already into your situation. Here, I think it'd be worth talking about this on the show. So as now they have the full lineup, right? They have the Boxcaster, the Spark, and the Boxcast Pro. Who is each encoder for? Talk about like, what would make the decision to go with one over the other for a church?
I really don't see a need for many churches to use the Boxcast Pro anymore because, again, a lot of it, if you have audio and video embedded together in your SDI feed coming from your video switcher, then but I just don't see a reason for the Boxcast Pro. The Boxcast Pro, it's nice because it's got like the XLR audio inputs and an SDI built into it already. Of course, the Spark will have that soon. But to me, I mean, I'm always going to be recommending now, hey, if you want the best Boxcast option for your church, just get the Spark. And then if you really need something more budget friendly, maybe consider the Boxcaster. But to me, it's like, where you're talking $400 versus $1,000. It's like, to me, the Spark seems to be like more than twice as good as the Boxcaster.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'd agree with that.
So
Yeah,
I know
this
for
one-
I feel like for a lot of our system designs with our Churchfront clients, like the Spark is probably going to be our go-to.
Yeah.
So for me personally, I have had a couple of times where ProPresenter didn't work as it needed to. So the fact that we've got this workflow of cameras go into a switcher, laptop or computer is separate going into the switcher. If for some reason your computer or your computer graphics software glitches out or dies or whatever, you still got your cameras and your audio going into a switcher and then into an encoder. My favorite part of using the encoder is just the pre-programmed, like, it just starts. It goes. You don't have to think about it. It's going to start live streaming at the time you need it to. You're just making sure you're feeding it signals. So, and then offloading the work of the encoding to a separate device. It's definitely worth the investment.
Yep. Yeah, and it takes some headache off of, people are always, at least the comments I see all the time in Facebook groups and different communities are like, nobody wants to upgrade to an encoder, like a physical encoder, because they don't want to pay a monthly fee. But man, if you're at all prioritizing live stream or broadcast for your church, like, it's going to take some investment, and if it's important to you, then you need to invest in it. And this is it's going to make it more reliable. Again, you can pre-program stuff so that it's automated startup and shut down and goes to your different destinations. It takes like a whole probably 30 minutes of setup and checking off of your to-do list for the morning, maybe even more than that, depending on, your volunteers. But this is, cause you're looking at $1,000 for the encoder, and then about $1,200 a year is $100 a month for the service. So, when you do the math, you're spending about $2,200 in total on the full setup. And, putting a dollar amount, I think, will help you think through, is it worth it? But if you're wanting to reach people, if you're talking about broadcast being a front door to your church, I mean, you can't stream with free products forever. It's going to have a shelf life for sure.
Yeah, and I'll just share one of our Churchfront Accelerator students, their scenario with using Boxcast. So one thing that they want to do is put their services online. I'll explain their workflow. What they're doing right now is they record all of the audio and the video. They produce it. So they do the same thing, capture separately audio and video, produce it, spend 4 hours a week editing and uploading this video to their website so that people can watch it if they miss the service. And that's just a lot of time for someone to spend on that. So we're designing a system that gives them a good audio mix for their live stream, and then they're able to switch their cameras live and then do all of their overlays, and then it goes into an encoder. And even though right away they might not be streaming to the internet for a live purpose, those 4 hours a week are taken care of back into their schedule, that they can like meet with their team, do training, whatever they need to do, that's not, producing a live stream or a post recorded mix every week. The other thing it allows them to do is they have a bunch of displays throughout the building. So like in the nursery or the nursing mother's room, or, children's classrooms or green room, they're able to just pull up the Boxcast app on the TV that they have, and they don't have to run cabling to that location in order to see the live stream, which becomes a slightly delayed CCTV solution. So even though they're not going to live stream right away, like, just having this device in place solves a ton of issues for them.
Yeah. I mean, there's students all over the place that are using Boxcast, but one of the cool things I got to see last time I was on site in Texas with a student, Michael Stanford, he was just switching over to Boxcast. They had been using, I think, maybe Wirecast previously, which is a software encoding based system, and they were pretty happy with it, but they wanted something more reliable and they wanted to improve the quality. And so they just went with the regular Boxcaster. And the feedback I got from him was that the setup process was actually one of his favorite parts of the whole experience because, he's on the phone with a Boxcast employee. They're walking him through, actually like configuring the settings on the Boxcast control side of things and the encoder. And so he was just like glowing reviews about their customer service, their assistance, the friendliness of the company. So, yeah, it always makes us happy when there's a good crew out there that is helping people get up and running and get up to speed.
Yeah, and
Awesome.
I've done that same experience, so I get that.
Yeah, it's gonna get Boxcast is cool I've been getting to know them a lot, as a company, and they are really focusing on church solutions for both streaming and for even website services. So it is kind of a whole ecosystem. If you guys check out their encoders, check out like their other like website platform that they have, and you got the sites builder right there. Like it can really just streamline everything for everything that your church needs to do online. So definitely check it out.
Pretty cool. Sweet.
This episode of the Churchfront Show is brought to you by the new Churchfront Hat 5-panel rope edition, and we have it in 2 colors. We've got Loden green. I really like the green one, and then I'm wearing the black one right now, black color as well. And this is like our first time having a little merch e-commerce store. I think it's going to work. So if you guys do me a favor, go buy the hat, and I can test my fulfillment systems on the back end. That would be great. So buy the hat, we'll get it shipped to you, and you can wear some Churchfront merch. I have a limited number of hats, like 100 available. Some of those, actually, probably I'd say only like 50 or 60 are available for sale because we give these out to our accelerator students when they sign up for our program. So that said, check out the link below and get yourself a Churchfront hat today.
Shout out to Matt for taking good pictures. I mean, the talent could be a little bit improved, but the
Hey,
photography
come
was
on. That's a
decent.
pretty look at that talent. Come on. The way I'm holding that bill, and man.
It's
And then
clutch.
our amazing Photoshop skills here. We actually put the hat on a mic stand, and like then I
Oh,
cropped out you can see a little bit of it right there, but it works. I'm pretty
yeah.
happy with it.
I love it. Branded bills, baby.
But go to our website to buy it. But branded bills, that's all like the state hats that I wear, like Colorado, Florida. You guys have some too. They're from Branded Bills, and they're like premium hats. Like when you get these hats, like I do not like wearing cheap hats. So that's why these hats are not necessarily cheap. It's $40. But they are great, really great build quality.
Yep. You're going to look good in your tech booth.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. This is my description. This hat is very comfortable and very cool. You look so pro mixing your X32 or switching your ATEM while wearing this hat. And since it says Churchfront on it, no one will doubt you know what you're doing.
Love it. You heard it here first. Get in now before they sell out. So I came across a YouTube video from this channel and this company called Sonnect, and they were promoting this new product that they released. I thought it was pretty cool. I'm not sure if like our church has a use for it right now, but I thought this is a super cool just piece of kit to have in your ministry. So this is a USB-C audio interface that is essentially going direct into XLR. And so it's able to convert whatever media playback you might be having in your services or your event from laptop, phone, iPad, and send it, high quality right to your console's analog input. So it's 32-bit audio. And there's like this alleviates the need for gear at your booth. So you don't need an audio interface. You don't need a Focusrite or any kind of Behringer, equipment there to like convert a headphone jack out of your computer into balance signal going into your console. You just need this cable. and all of the interface is done right within this really cool blue braided cable. One thing I didn't know, or I just had not really thought about, was that it's got like phantom power protection in it, so that if you accidentally turn on phantom power on your console on the channel for media playback, it's not going to destroy your audio card in your computer or in your device, which has happened before. And so I think they've just really thought through it really well. And it's obviously an investment for the cable, but this, again, having this as part of your kit could be a really good addition to anybody who's running audio for churches or events or something like that.
Yeah, if you want like a full, pretty in-depth video on it, Dave Rat actually got one and talks through it, and he describes the different solutions. Like, why not just use this $10 HOSA cable that's 3.5 millimeter to XLR, and kind of goes more in depth on why that can cause issues with your device. And then as far as the quality of the preamp on your device, like if you just use the headphone output. So he kind of does a more in-depth video that's pretty interesting to watch. But this could be a great solution for a good number of people, I would think.
Yeah, I would like to use it for like a Sunday keys setup. If you're just using stereo keys left, right, out from that iPad or Mac device, and really clean up your stage, because you don't have a box of an interface. And my understanding is they kind of put the whatever hardware they needed into the actual XLR connectors for the interface part of it. That's why they're made it so streamlined. So very cool little products.
Yep.
Yeah, if you guys, I don't know if you saw any part of the video where someone like opened one up, but it's like it's like the hot glue material, that like encapsulates all of the components, like the electrical components. If there's like resistors in there or something like that, it's like all within the XLR cable. So it's cool to see the insides, the guts of it, if you can.
The other thing I love about it is that you don't need drivers. So whether you're using a Mac, Windows, Android, iOS, like those are the major, players in the setup, and you don't have to like install an app, you don't have to install a driver. That is worth its weight in gold, I feel like, when you're trying I'm thinking especially like somebody comes into the church and they got a wedding or a funeral, and they're like, I've got this song on my phone or on my device, and can you play it? And it's like sometimes getting that material over into your playlist or your ecosystem is just, it takes time. So it's nice that you can just be like, here you go, here's a cable, and plug it in, and it's ready to play. So really cool piece of kit.
Yeah. One thing to note, I actually found it on Rational Acoustics website. So they sell it, the people that make smart software. Someone's going to say this in the comments. Is it Sonnect? Because there is a company called Sonnect that we sell a lot of their gear. This has a C in it. So
you're right. Yep. My
just
bad.
point it out before the comments do. I don't know. It might be
called Sonnect.
Get it?
Connect. Sonnect.
See what they did there. See what they did there.
Yep.
Very cool.
If it was Sonnect, it would randomly disconnect on you when you don't want it to. No, we actually figured that out. You know what? That's worth maybe mentioning. The Mac X chassis from Sonnect, the expansion chassis company. Adam, you said connection issues people have with that Mac rack mount thingy server, whatever we call it, Mac X server.
Yeah.
I can't remember the name, but you guys might see videos on it. It's a great way to rack mount your Mac in your tech booth. And you can have connectivity issues, but then Adam learned from their team that the issues can come from the Bluetooth and Wi-Fi being enabled on the computer, right, Adam?
Yep. Yeah, so this isn't the exact one. This is the older Thunderbolt photo right here, but this is the idea. You put your Mac Mini in this rack. It has all of this stuff connected. You can install PCIe cards, but being that it's inside this aluminum chassis, it blocks the Wi-Fi signal and the Bluetooth signal. So having the Bluetooth and the Wi-Fi on, at least for one install that we did, was causing issues with the connectivity of the PCIe card. So since turning off the Wi-Fi and the Bluetooth, they haven't had any issues. But it's something to note. It's one of those
Mhm.
small things that as you're deploying gear that could become a frustration if you don't know about it.
Yep.
Other than that, I still think it's a great solution. You should have your computers hardwired to the network anyway. Bluetooth connectivity, you always can just use a USB, the little dongle that goes onto the outside for a mouse and keyboard, or a wired mouse and keyboard, so you never worry about batteries anyway. So I think there are workarounds that make it still worth doing.
Oh, here's a cool lighting setup. This was actually one of the churchfront.com members. They reached out through our premium support channel where folks can, ask us questions about what they're working on with their worship and tech ministry. And he was just wondering what type of lighting design to do for kind of this like church in the round experience. So Joshua sent me the ticket, and I'm like, you know what? Like when I think of like a church in the round experience, I think of this cool elevation worship setup that I saw one time. I think it was when we were talking with um, uh, Chase, the lighting designer. I think his Instagram's Chase Lights, and it was kind of a cool worship in the round setup at Elevation Church, or for an Elevation worship album recording, and it had this like cool fabric over them with light coming down through the fabric, which kind of nice evenly like diffused it throughout the room. So I was like, maybe try something like that, because you could probably find some low budget ways to emulate that same idea. So yeah, he put like, looks like a bunch of like a chandelier of like maybe Philips Hue lights in there.
Yeah.
And then he has, so then he can change the color. It can be DMX controlled. Yeah, I know like Light Key can control Philips Hue. And then they put some lights in the middle and a lamp. Just a nice little simple setup, with the light kind of emulating from the center there. And I thought that was kind of a cool, quick solution for his church there for the little worship night.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you leverage drop ceiling there because you're not, I mean, in that room, like those fixtures, I'm sure are kind of like conference room feeling, the can lights that are already in the drop ceiling. They probably don't look
Mm-hmm.
great. They probably don't create a great vibe, but man, just
Mm-hmm.
running, a little drop of a light socket and then putting in bulbs and turning everything else either super dim, that's a pretty cheap, inexpensive, pretty flexible solution. I love it.
Cool. Adam, you had another Churchfront Premium question someone reached out to you.
Yeah. So we had a ticket come in. Someone was asking about a particular setup with Behringer, their DP48s, and using the Hub 4 to drive them. So they got their mixing console, a rack unit device that takes all of the channels and then sends them out over Ethernet to personal monitor mixers. So the personal monitor mixers are fairly new, maybe a couple of years old, 3 years old. And the Hub, it has this cool feature where you can send the outputs out at the back of the Behringer Hub 4, or the Hub 4, and then you can plug them into in-ears. So the application is you use a physical mixer on stage to mix your in-ears, but your wireless in-ears, because the audio is passing to a receiver in the rack. And so this person was trying to get that figured out. I pulled up the manual. I read it 3 or 4 times. It really didn't make a ton of sense, but I was able to decipher it. I was able to decipher it to a point where I could say, I'm pretty sure this is what they mean by what they're saying in the manual, and sent a Loom. Loom is a video tool that we use to just record our screen and record our face. Yep, this is the Hub 4 device. And so I was able to pull up the manual, pull up the device, show on my screen, press these buttons on the front. This is what they're referring to in the manual. And then he said, thank you for the support. I've been waiting on a ticket from Behringer themselves, but they have not been helpful at all. So I'm glad that you guys are here to help us with these kinds of things.
So go to churchfront.com and churchfront.com/apply to join Churchfront Premium, and then we can help you with your random Behringer questions, because Behringer will not.
It takes
Unfortunately.
it takes a special brain to be able to interpret Behringer manuals too, because it's like 6 lines of text, and that's really all you get for like every section. I mean, it's a, there's really not a lot of information there.
And the wording itself was just not very clear. And what's interesting is even our buddy Drew Brashler, I didn't find a video from him on how to use this hub for, and so there wasn't really any videos on the internet about how to accomplish that particular task that this person was trying to do. So just having someone to bounce ideas off of and help you figure things out is an important thing that you have to have when you're in any kind of role where you're putting gear together. So it's a recurring theme lately where we talk about how to mix with plugins for your front of house mix. So we've been using the Wave Super Rack, as a few people have mentioned, and Michael mentions in this video. We talked about the Fourier audio, use any VST. And so Michael Curtis, someone that we work with and appreciate his work, he started using this Gig Performer. So this is another way that you can route audio and use VSTs. One cool thing that he shares in his video on his channel is, you saw it here in the preview, you're able to custom design the interface. So you can build like you would, with software, like one knob. So if all you need to see is one knob for that plugin, you don't have to have the entire plugin up. You can just create these presence bass, like this chorus mix. You can design your own interface as you make it. So it's kind of nerdy. Like if you love getting into the weeds of these kinds of things, I think this is something worth checking out. MIDI support, has the tap tempo and the kind of cool workflow of visualizing where the audio is flowing within your design. So something cool to check out.
Love it. Hey, let's jump over to Waves just announced a new plugin, which feels like they release new plugins a lot, but it's called Feedback Hunter. So this is essentially it's a plugin that it's designed to kind of help you in the process of ringing out your PA or your monitors. And I watched a couple demos from, I forget his name. Is it Clyde?
Val?
Val. It's Val.
Some Viking name, right?
And he is a Viking. But it's cool because this plugin specifically, you kind of run it on, you kind of turn all your mics on, you put it at kind of right before they would get to feeding back in the system, or where they're at that point where you can kind of hear that real tint of feedback. And then you run Feedback Hunter, and it will essentially develop you a custom curve for your room and your system that comes with a threshold. So you can leave it kind of the auto setting and just let it do that and manage the feedback right from the plugin, or you can intensify that threshold so that it's actually squashing it more, or if it's too intense, you can kind of lighten the load. So yes, it's an auto plugin that kind of rings out stuff and it gives you kind of a custom curve, but you still have quite a bit of control on the amount that is placed in your mix. So but it's meant to save you time in ringing out your stage wedges and your PA. And so if you're set up in teardown, I'm thinking about like a church plant or a gym setup, like this could save you a ton of time during your setup process in not having to find those frequencies every single week and tune them out. So pretty cool little introduction from Waves.
Yeah, and just to note, because people will probably be interested in this, like how would you actually apply this? So if, let's say you're running an SQ5 or a Wing and you want to use Feedback Hunter, you'd have to use a tool like Gig Performer, Wave Super Rack, etc. Some zero to low latency VST, plugin host. You would have to route the audio output of your mix, your aux mix for the wedge on stage into the software, and then out of the software back into your console. Or if you're using an LV1, you could just put it directly on, the aux. But,
yep.
And this, I think I might even try this. We've got wedges at our church right now. We're going to be moving to fully in-ears at some point, but at least at this point, I've got monitors on stage that I can try it out with.
Yeah. The other piece of this is that Waves does have a plugin called X Feedback, which is more meant for like live channels, during your show, and they're more just like notching out specific bands for kind of problem spots in your frequencies. But Feedback Hunter is like a prep plugin. You run it before the show. You're not running it live, and that way when your show is live, it kind of all this stuff is already taken care of. You can still run X Feedback on certain channels if you've got like a guest, who's preaching out in front of the PA or walking around a lot, and you can use that. But this is meant for more of that prep stage of a show.
I don't know if you guys were ever in this role of like an A2 where you had to be, and this would have been more common before in-ears were big, but like I remember having to be the guy on stage, like holding my ear and then holding the microphone in front of the wedge, like getting closer and closer until I induced feedback so that the front of house engineer could find the frequency and pull it out. This is that version of that.
Without
the
hearing
feedback
image.
hunter. I feel like that could be a monster. It's gonna be like a monster truck name, the Feedback Hunter.
We gotta get Val on the podcast, man. We have not had a Russian on the podcast, so I feel like he's got to be Russian, right?
I would think so. We can ask him when he's on the podcast.
Yeah, he's either Russian or it's maybe like Czech, but he's got a sick accent. That'd be a high performing podcast.
Yeah.
Hey, did you guys see this new laptop that just came out? Speaking of Waves, this is making all of the waves in the Waves communities.
That looks like that's a cool laptop. Is it touchscreen too, or is it? Ooh.
Yeah,
that is cool.
People are digging this. This is, if you're not familiar with an LV1 setup, like you could use this as your LV1 host computer, and you've got 2 touchscreens built right into the surface and the experience of using it.
Let's do. I think let's just design stuff on the fly here, because I'm thinking of, man, I kind of want to make a video in the setup where it's like the ultimate portable church AVL like rig that uses like an LV1 with probably using a computer like this and the Proton Duo, so like you can actually have, well, actually, you said this could be the host, right? So you don't even need the Duo, you just need the Proton server, right?
Right.
Like this computer would function as the host and running the software. And then you could have one of the 32 channel stage boxes in there from Wave, or make it even more budget friendly. It could be
the 16.
You could use an X32 rack with a Waves card in it, right? Wasn't that was kind of like the more budget friendly thing? It'd be interesting to like for us to build out, like if we could fit it in, kind of like what portable church does. But like the thing about portable church is they're putting in like really high end, I think arguably sometimes overkill products in the racks, and I feel like it could even be more compact for like, let's say like a 50-person church plant that like wants to quickly like roll like 1, maybe 2 racks in there maximum and have great audio by Waves, and maybe one other rack that could take care of their like presentation streaming computer, right? So that's kind of what I'm thinking. I don't know, maybe we should like legitimately like sketch something out like that, because that'd be cool. What if we did it so that like we could build the thing in our own office, and then if people want to order it, we'll just build it, we'll ship it to you, and it's ready to go.
Yeah.
Something like that. Kind of like mini portable church.
Yeah. For people who don't know, what's portable church?
It's like a service where like, hey, most of the time I see larger churches that are like, hey, we're going to go launch another campus and we just want kind of church in the box. So and the problem is like for smaller to mid-sized church plants is like they don't have the budget that a mega church has to go launch another campus somewhere. So like it's kind of out of reach and impractical for a smaller church plant type of setup. So that's where I'm like, man, what if we made a cool setup like that? And again, it used Waves kind of at the heart of it. And then you had a laptop maybe like this this Yoga that we were just looking at as the host computer. But you really would need you need a minimum, I feel like, of 2 computing devices with this type of system, right? One for audio
But
mixing.
imagine if you had two of these yogas. One of them was running waves, and that's your in-house and your broadcast mix if you're live streaming. And then your
Yeah.
second one runs ProPresenter and Light Key. And if you need to open up ATEM for video switching, you could. But Light Key, you can interact as a touchscreen with it. ProPresenter, I haven't done it, but I'm
But
pretty sure you
it's
could.
not gonna be, it's almost like it'd have to be a Mac, right? Because it's gonna be Light Key's
Mm.
not gonna
You
run on a
can't. Yeah.
Mac, on a, PC.
Oh, yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Not to say we couldn't find, you could use another PC-based lighting application. Um, or you could have a Mac and a PC. Like
Yeah.
the PC,
Yeah.
that's why. Or you could have, you could just go the route of like having the Proton Duo with the server host computer built into it. So that's your PC just for waves. And then you have maybe more like, you get like a rack mount Mac Mini in there, or a MacBook Pro to handle some of the other needs. Because yeah, because you would really like do your in-house and broadcast mix on the LV1, output your broadcast mix to the other computer. But the other thing too, I wonder is like, you could, why not stick a ATEM Constellation 1 or 2 ME in there, do actually most of your video switching off of that, and get a Boxcast encoder like we were talking about earlier too.
Hmm.
So the encoder is doing the encoding. So you're not even putting that much of a load on that other computer, that other Mac that could be running ProPresenter and Light Key.
Yeah. Yeah, because you
Yeah.
could get away with a pretty slim down Mac Mini if you had your encoding being done off of a computer, like in an actual encoder. That'd be a pretty slick setup. And dude, the laptop, like this, the PC lovers in our community are gonna be all about this episode, because I don't think we've talked about a PC like this, but the people who have been running Waves LV1 on this setup have said good things about it. I don't have like this in my office. I don't know what it would be like to, reach up and tap that top screen. Like I have no idea, but the people who have been using it have been raving about it. The other thing that you can run on this would be the DLive brain, right? You could do the Allen Heath. Now that's a different price point, but if you were really if you were already in the Allen and Heath ecosystem, like if you really wanted to stay in that line, the DLive makes a brain that you can run on a touchscreen like this as well. So it can be pretty
It'd be
versatile.
super, super portable, X32 rack, and X32 edit.
Yeah.
You just connect it to the Wi-Fi. You just, you put this,
True.
you just buy this $2,000 laptop so you can have two touch screens to operate the mixing console with the brain that's on stage.
Yep.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea, Adam.
No,
Literally,
yeah,
because
no need for anything else.
you could literally have like one little portable stage box, rack the X32 rack into like maybe I don't know, what do you need? Like maybe a 10U portable rack. So you could have room for the X32 in there and maybe some other odds and ends. But gosh, you'd have 32 input channels up there, and then you'd have, all the in-ear outputs you need, or the P16 output, Ultranet port if you need. That could be
An
super
IO
portable.
card, like.
But the same thing, same idea though, again, with this computer connected into Wave Sound Grid, so it could run as the host computer. Then maybe your server and stage box are in a different rack on stage. Very lightweight.
Yeah.
Lots of options. Just go to Churchfront support, ask us what you want.
Yeah.
We will build it.
Eric says a lot of people he talks with are asking about these portable solutions. And I think these are, again, for smaller churches that are like, hey, like we're not, mega church planting a huge campus with a big budget. We are like just getting started. What are the portable options that we have out there? So I think that's why we seriously should explore this more, especially now that we can source all this gear and start putting stuff together. Well, that's all we have for you guys today in this episode of the Churchfront Show. Thanks for tuning in, whether you're on the YouTube channel or podcast. I want to invite you to check out churchfront.com, your roadmap to worship and production ministry solutions. So we've got online courses, we've got consulting and remote coaching, and we've got integration services now. So if you guys are going to do any major upgrades to your church, whether it's audio system, whether it's lighting and LED walls, or live streaming and broadcast and cameras, we can help you with all of those different needed solutions there. So go to churchfront.com, click that apply to join button, and you'll connect with Eric on our team to learn more about your situation, your goals, and if we can help you, we'll let you know, and we'll tell you more about how that process works. But go ahead and book that free call today. We would love to chat with you guys soon. Please subscribe to the Churchfront channel, and we'll see you next time.